Imagine a world where survival is not a choice, but a daily struggle. 900,000 years ago, the Earth was a place of extremes. Ice sheets crept across continents, glaciers carved valleys, and fierce storms swept through open plains. The sun's warmth was fleeting, and food was scarce. In this harsh crucible, early humans had to navigate a landscape teeming with predators, from massive saber-toothed cats to towering bears, all competing for the same precious resources. Can you picture standing on a frozen plain, the wind cutting through your primitive clothing, and knowing that one wrong step could mean death? In this unforgiving environment, every day was a test of ingenuity and resilience. Humans were not yet the masters of the world. They were opportunistic survivors, small in number, yet astonishingly resourceful. They needed more than courage. They needed knowledge passed through generations: where to find water, which plants were safe to eat, and how to track and hunt animals that were often bigger and stronger than themselves. These early humans were constantly learning, observing, and adapting, their lives a delicate balance between risk and reward. The quest for protein defined much of their existence. Large herbivores roamed the land, offering sustenance but demanding cunning to capture. Sometimes humans scavenged what predators left behind, or ambushed weakened animals in calculated strikes. Their survival depended on acute observation, patience, and collaboration. They crafted rudimentary tools from stone, wood, and bone, axes, spears, and scrapers, each innovation an extension of human will against nature's cruelty. Yet, despite the constant danger, there was a spark of ingenuity. Groups huddled together for warmth, shared knowledge of safe hunting grounds, and slowly began to shape their environment to their advantage. The challenges of 900,000 years ago forged traits we still carry today: problem-solving, cooperation, and a relentless drive to adapt. In these frozen, predator-filled landscapes, humans were learning the timeless art of survival, one meal at a time. If this glimpse into our ancient past fascinates you, imagine how much more we can uncover. Hit like if you're intrigued and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think was the most daring strategy early humans used to survive? Who were the humans navigating this harsh world 900,000 years ago? The dominant species of the era was Homo erectus, a remarkable blend of endurance and intelligence. Taller and more robust than their predecessors, these humans were equipped for life on the move. Their bodies were built for long-distance travel, capable of chasing prey or migrating to follow the seasons, a skill that would define their survival strategy. Imagine seeing a small group of them trudging across frozen plains or dense forests, carrying crude tools and the faint hope of another meal. Homo erectus was not merely surviving, they were learning, experimenting, and slowly mastering the environment. Their brain, larger than that of earlier hominins, allowed them to plan, strategize, and cooperate in ways no other species could. Social bonds were crucial. Families and small tribes shared knowledge, food, and protection. Each member had a role, whether tracking game, preparing food, or crafting tools. This was the dawn of coordinated human effort, a silent revolution shaping the path of evolution. Their faces, framed by heavy brows and strong jaws, may look primitive to us, yet their eyes carried curiosity, alertness, and an instinct for survival. They observed animal behavior, tracked patterns of seasons, and memorized landscapes with an astonishing precision. These early humans were pioneers of adaptation, finding innovative ways to exploit the limited resources around them. Hunting and gathering were not random. They were deliberate, informed by experience and communal learning. But survival required more than cleverness. It demanded endurance. In freezing nights, they huddled together for warmth. In predator-rich territories, they relied on vigilance and teamwork. Every step was a calculated risk, every hunt a test of skill and courage. Their legacy is not only physical but cultural, the seeds of cooperation, planning, and ingenuity that define humanity. By understanding Homo erectus, we see the roots of our own resilience. These humans were not just survivors, they were innovators in the harshest classrooms nature could offer. Their lives, though distant in time, continue to echo in our strategies, instincts, and relentless curiosity about the world. The quest for protein was more than a matter of sustenance. It was a relentless pursuit that shaped every choice early humans made. 900,000 years ago, the landscape was a mosaic of forests, grasslands, and icy plains, each teeming with life, yet riddled with danger. For Homo erectus, identifying sources of nourishment was both science and instinct. Every rustle in the grass or distant howl hinted at potential prey or peril. How did these early humans distinguish opportunity from threat, and what strategies allowed them to secure the protein their bodies desperately needed? Large herbivores, deer-like creatures, massive bovids, and even towering mammoths represented both a prize and a challenge. Capturing such beasts required observation, patience, and cooperation. Humans also scavenged from predator kills, a risky but sometimes rewarding tactic. They learned to exploit weaknesses in animal behavior, targeting the young, sick, or isolated individuals while avoiding confrontations with dangerous predators. Protein was precious, and nothing edible went unused. Bones were cracked for marrow, organs consumed for nutrients, and even insects provided vital sustenance when larger prey was scarce. Plants and smaller animals complemented their diet, but it was the protein-rich fare that fueled their survival. Hunting was not a sporadic event. It was a continuous cycle of strategy, movement, and adaptation. Humans became attuned to migration patterns, seasonal availability, and predator behavior. Over time, this intimate knowledge of their environment became embedded in their culture and survival toolkit. Yet, acquiring protein was also a social endeavor. Success often depended on collaboration, coordinated hunts, shared spoils, and the passing of knowledge from one generation to the next. The triumph of one hunt was the triumph of the community, reinforcing bonds and collective understanding. Every meal secured was a victory over the harsh realities of the Ice Age world, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. The quest for protein was, in essence, the foundation of human evolution. It pushed early humans to innovate, observe, and cooperate in ways that no other species had. Each calculated risk, each tool crafted, and each strategy developed contributed to the survival of not just individuals but the species itself. Hunting was more than a means of survival. It was an art shaped by observation, strategy, and innovation. 900,000 years ago, Homo erectus faced prey that was often larger, faster, and stronger than themselves. To succeed, humans needed more than courage. They required tactics, patience, and the ingenuity to turn the natural world into an ally. How did these early hunters outwit beasts that could crush them in a single strike? Stone and wooden tools were their first extensions of skill. Sharp-edged stones became cutting implements. Spears, simple yet lethal, allowed distance between predator and human. Scrapers and blades enabled the efficient processing of meat, maximizing nutritional gain from every kill. But tools alone were not enough. The mastery of strategy made the difference. Humans learned to track animals quietly, to anticipate migration paths, and to exploit environmental features like cliffs, rivers, and narrow passes, turning the terrain into a trap for unsuspecting prey. Hunting often demanded coordination. Small groups communicated silently, flanking and encircling animals in a primitive choreography of survival. Every movement was deliberate, every sound suppressed. Success depended on trust and timing, as a single misstep could turn hunter into hunted. Sometimes, The hunt was a patient waiting game, following herds for days until the perfect opportunity arose. Other times, it was an ambush, striking swiftly to overpower the target. Even scavenging required cunning. Predators left remnants that could be risky to claim, and humans had to assess danger before approaching. Opportunism and boldness merged with skill and knowledge, creating a survival system finely tuned to the hazards of the Ice Age world. Each hunt, whether triumphant or failed, contributed to learning, shaping future tactics, and enhancing the collective wisdom of the group. These early hunters were innovators, engineers of survival, and pioneers of cooperation. Their legacy is not only in the tools they left behind, but in the strategies, foresight, and adaptability that define humanity to this day. What do you think was the most ingenious hunting strategy early humans used to secure protein in such a hostile world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your theories. In the Ice Age, scavenging was not a fallback. It was a calculated survival strategy. While hunting large prey required strength, patience, and coordination, scavenging demanded keen observation, timing, and an understanding of predator behavior. Early humans knew that the world belonged not just to them, but to formidable carnivores. Lions, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats prowled every landscape. To claim what these hunters left behind was to dance on the edge of danger. Scavenging began with careful tracking. Humans observed predator movements, waiting for the right moment to approach a carcass. They learned which animals posed the greatest threat and which could be outmaneuvered. Sometimes they arrived after a predator had finished, claiming bones and leftover meat. Other times they boldly harassed a predator just enough to drive it away, seizing the spoils with minimal risk. Every decision required calculation. One misstep could mean injury or death. Tools became invaluable allies. Sharp-edged stones allowed humans to extract marrow from bones, unlocking hidden calories and essential nutrients. Wooden implements and spears provided protection, a means to fend off competitors, and a way to process food more efficiently. Scavenging was both resourceful and opportunistic, transforming leftovers into vital sustenance. For Homo erectus, nothing edible was wasted. Even small creatures, insects, and plant matter supplemented the diet when larger prey was unavailable. Social cooperation amplified the effectiveness of scavenging. Groups shared information about predator kills, warned each other of dangers, and collectively decided the best moments to strike. These experiences reinforced bonds and fostered communication, skills crucial for both hunting and survival. Over time, humans became adept at reading the landscape, interpreting signs, and predicting outcomes, a combination of intuition, experience, and intelligence that ensured their survival in hostile environments. Scavenging, then, was far more than survival. It was a masterclass in adaptation. It honed observation, risks, assessment, and teamwork, shaping the very behaviors that would define human evolution. In the harshest of worlds, humans turned the leftovers of predators into lessons in endurance, innovation, and strategy. Survival 900,000 years ago was a dance with the seasons. Early humans did not remain static. They moved, tracking the rhythm of the environment and the creatures they relied on. Seasonal migrations dictated where they lived, what they ate, and how they protected themselves. Vast landscapes could suddenly transform, from fertile valleys teeming with game to frozen plains inhospitable to life. Homo erectus had to read these changes like a living map, adapting constantly to remain one step ahead of hunger and danger. Migration was a careful balance between opportunity and risk. Humans followed herds of herbivores, knowing that large animals could supply protein for days if hunted successfully. They monitored the flowering and fruiting of plants, ensuring that even in scarcity, nutritional gaps could be filled. Rivers and coastlines were lifelines, providing water and occasional fish or shellfish, but moving through these routes required caution. Every migration was not just physical, it was a complex understanding of ecosystems, predator patterns, and seasonal shifts in weather. Adapting to these changing environments demanded flexibility. Clothing made from animal hides protected against cold winds. Temporary shelters offered refuge from storms. Fire became a vital companion, providing warmth, safety, and a method to cook food that increased digestibility and nutritional value. The ability to innovate on the move was a hallmark of human intelligence, a skill that separated early humans from other creatures struggling to survive in the same landscapes. Social structures played a role too. Migration required coordination, shared decision-making, and knowledge transfer. Scouts would track game, elders remembered water sources, and groups collaborated to navigate treacherous terrain. These movements were not random wanderings. They were purposeful strategies, honed over generations, embedding survival knowledge deep into the collective memory of the tribe. Through seasonal migration and environmental adaptation, early humans learned resilience. They transformed landscapes into opportunities rather than obstacles, mastering the art of survival one journey at a time. Every step across frozen plains, every river crossed, and every valley traversed became part of a story of endurance, shaping the evolution of humans in ways that still echo in our ability to adapt to change today. Fire was more than warmth. It was a revolution. For early humans, controlling fire transformed the very way they lived, hunted, and ate. 900,000 years ago, flames illuminated the night, kept predators at bay, and allowed Homo erectus to unlock new sources of nutrition. Can you imagine a frigid evening on the plains, the wind biting at exposed skin, and a crackling fire offering the first sense of safety in a world dominated by danger? Cooking was perhaps fire's most profound gift. Raw meat is tough, difficult to digest, and carries pathogens. By roasting or boiling, humans could extract more energy from their meals, increase protein intake, and reduce disease risk. Fire also allowed them to process plants that would otherwise be inedible, expanding their dietary options and providing a buffer during lean seasons. In essence, fire multiplied their chances of survival, turning scarce resources into a reliable source of sustenance. Beyond nutrition, fire became a social anchor. Gathered around the glow, groups shared stories, knowledge, and strategies. Instructions on tool use, hunting techniques, and plant identification could be exchanged safely, protected from the threats of night. The flames symbolized not only survival, but community, a shared heartbeat against the indifferent cold of the Ice Age. Mastering fire demanded observation and skill. Early humans had to know when lightning or volcanic activity could spark a flame, how to maintain it, and how to transport embers. This knowledge, passed down generations, became a cornerstone of cultural evolution, illustrating human ingenuity and foresight. Fire shaped every aspect of life. It enhanced diet, fostered cooperation, and allowed exploration of colder, previously inhospitable regions. The mastery of fire was a defining leap, one that echoed through generations, influencing migration, hunting, and survival strategies. What do you think was the most revolutionary impact of fire on early human life? Nutrition, safety, or social connection? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights could shine new light on this ancient story. Survival in harsh environments was never a solitary endeavor. Homo erectus relied on social structures and cooperation as much as on tools or fire. 900,000 years ago, small groups of humans formed tight-knit communities, each member contributing to a collective effort that ensured survival. Imagine the subtle coordination of a hunting party, the careful division of labor, and the quiet transmission of knowledge from elder to younger member. all of it crucial for enduring a world filled with predators, scarcity, and shifting climates. Cooperation amplified efficiency. Hunting large herbivores required teamwork, careful timing, and trust. While one group distracted the prey, others could ambush or drive it toward a natural trap. Gathering and processing food was similarly collective. Sharing not only ensured that everyone received nourishment, but also reinforced social bonds. In a world where a single misstep could mean death, the strength of the group often determined the fate of individuals. Social structures also facilitated learning. Observation, imitation, and teaching allowed knowledge to pass from one generation to the next, ensuring that survival strategies became cumulative rather than transient. Skills in tool-making, foraging, and navigation were embedded in cultural memory, creating continuity in a precarious existence. Even conflict management played a role. Negotiating access to resources within the group maintained cohesion and prevented fragmentation. These early humans understood roles, hierarchy, and cooperation instinctively. Leadership emerged naturally in moments of crisis, and communication, though primitive, enabled planning and coordination. The bonds of trust, shared risk, and mutual dependence became a template for social evolution that resonates in human societies today. Through social structures and cooperation, survival extended beyond the individual. Each member of the group was a thread in a larger tapestry, and the collective intelligence of the community was often the deciding factor between life and death. In this way, early humans were not just surviving, they were building the foundation of human society, one coordinated, effort at a time. Encounters with predators were a constant reality for early humans. 900,000 years ago, the world was ruled by formidable carnivores, lions, hyenas, giant cats, and other apex hunters. Humans, though clever and resourceful, were small and vulnerable in comparison. Every step outside the shelter, every hunt, and even scavenging required vigilance. Survival depended on understanding predator behavior, predicting movement, and knowing when to fight, flee, or hide. The risk was omnipresent. Tracks in the mud, distant roars, or torn foliage could signal a lurking threat. Humans had to interpret these signs quickly, relying on both instinct and experience. They developed strategies to avoid confrontation. Scouting hunting grounds in advance, using fire to ward off predators, and coordinating group movements to minimize exposure. Each encounter demanded split-second decisions. Hesitation could be fatal. Predator pressure also shaped innovation. Tools were not only for hunting. They were defensive weapons, sharpened sticks and stones ready to fend off attacks. Shelters and camps were strategically located near resources but far from predator dens. Humans learned to create barriers, use natural terrain for protection, and work collectively to confront threats too large or dangerous to face alone. Interestingly, predators inadvertently aided survival. Observing hunting patterns, humans could locate carcasses, track herds, and understand the behaviors of both prey and predator. In this deadly game, humans became keen students of the natural world, learning to exploit opportunities while avoiding danger. Every predator encounter sharpened instincts, teaching lessons in timing, patience, and situational awareness. Through these constant threats, early humans honed resilience and ingenuity. The necessity to navigate a predator-dominated world forged traits that would echo through millennia: vigilance, adaptability, cooperation, and the unyielding drive to survive. In a landscape where danger lurked behind every tree and rock, humans were learning the ultimate skill: how to thrive in a world that seemed designed to challenge their very existence. The legacy of early humans is not written in monuments or ruins. It lives in us. 900,000 years ago, survival was not a given. It was a relentless pursuit forged through intelligence, adaptation, and unity. The lessons carved into their existence, how to find food, use fire, and cooperate, became the foundation of humanity's story. Each small triumph in that ancient world echoed forward, shaping the species we would become. Homo erectus proved that the greatest survival tool was not muscle or speed, it was the mind. Their ability to learn, plan, and innovate transformed simple instincts into complex strategies. They read the land like a book, predicting migrations, mastering fire, crafting tools, and moving as one to face predators and climate alike. Every challenge met. With creativity became an evolutionary inheritance. That inheritance defines us still. The ability to adapt, to think ahead, to endure when conditions seem impossible. But survival was never an individual achievement. It was communal. Groups that shared, taught, and cooperated thrived where others vanished. Around flickering fires, knowledge became legacy, passed through words, gestures, and stories. In those moments, the first sparks of culture were born, an understanding that humans could survive not just by instinct, but by connection. When we look back at their world, we see the first outlines of ourselves, problem solvers, explorers, storytellers. Their struggles became the blueprint for progress. The intelligence that once hunted mammoths and tamed fire would one day craft cities, art, and science. Yet the essence remains unchanged, the same drive to overcome, to adapt, to thrive against the odds. Our ancestors' survival was not merely about endurance, it was about vision. Their courage in facing a brutal earth gave rise to everything that followed. Their story is the origin of our own resilience, our curiosity, and our unending search for meaning. If you've journeyed this far through time, take a moment to reflect on what connects us to them. Their fire still burns in us. Subscribe to join this exploration of the ancient world and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think was humanity's greatest survival skill in that distant age?